Hello there. Wednesday Addams is expelled from yet another school for ordinary children. Her parents, Gomez and Morticia, decide to send their daughter to the Nevermore Academy for Outcasts, where they themselves spent their teenage years. Wednesday intends to escape, but learns that her appearance at the academy was foretold in a prophecy 30 years ago. Wednesday Addams' normal school day begins with sophisticated revenge, after she finds her little brother bound hand and foot in her locker. The frightened kid won't tell his sister who stuffed him in there with an apple in his mouth, like a roasted pig. Wednesday's search for the culprits is aided by her sudden gift. She can see both the past and the future. Clearly seeing the faces of the attackers, Wednesday sets out to take revenge on the water polo team's athletes, taking with her 2 bags of bloodthirsty underwater predators, and watches with a cold-blooded gaze as the Piranhas catch up with their victims. The Addams family manages to settle the incident without being accused of attempted murder, but has to transfer their sweet villain to a new institution, the Nevermore Academy for Outcasts, where Morticia and Gomez Addams themselves spent their distant youth. The Addamses are welcomed by Larissa Weems, the principal of the academy, who happily informs the family of Wednesday's enrollment and escorts the girl to meet her roommate, the friendly Enid Sinclair, who rushes forward with a welcoming hug, only to be rejected by the moody girl. Enid tells the new girl about the local groups. Fangs are vampires, furs are werewolves, like Enid herself. Scales are sirens, led by the school's self-proclaimed queen, Bianca Barclay, who has just broken up with the local artist Xavier, who is capable of bringing his drawings to life. After receiving her uniform, Wednesday goes out to say goodbye to her family. Morticia, left alone with her daughter, warns her against running away, thoughts of which are already racing through the girl's mind.
I will escape this educational penitentiary, and you will never hear from me again.
The mother also leaves her daughter a gift, an obsidian pendant, which the Aztec priest used to conjure visions. As the Addams family drives away from the school, they leave their hand-shaped spy named Thing to watch over their favorite little scorpion. On the outskirts of Nevermore, Jericho Town's sheriff, Donovan Galpin, meanwhile, is investigating yet another hiker's death. The crime pattern is similar to the 2 previous cases. Parts of a severed body are scattered at the scene. For all the cases, the sheriff instructs his deputy to inform the press that they were caused by bear attacks, which he himself, of course, does not believe. Galpin connects the murders to the Nevermore disciples, but he can't prove it yet. In her new room, Wednesday marks her territory with complete lack of any bright colors and quarrels with her neighbor Enid, who is the exact opposite of her. Joyful, friendly, and open, but also ready to let her claws out if needed. The girls' quarrel is interrupted by Marilyn Thornhill, who shows up in their room wearing dirty red boots. The teacher gives each newcomer a flower from her greenhouse. And for Wednesday, she has a black Delilah. Miss Thornhill voices the rules to the newcomer, including those related to visiting the nearby town of Jericho, where the students of Nevermore are considered cursed weirdos. Wednesday shows up at a fencing class, confident of her superiority over any student in the school. She challenges herself to fight with the smug Bianca, who is asking her coach to give her opponent who is equal in strength. The girls' battle immediately becomes the center of attention of those present, and so much worse for Wednesday, who unexpectedly for herself is defeated. At the nurse's station, Rowan starts talking to the girl. The boy tells her that before Wednesday, he was an outcast at the school for outcasts, a weird guy with asthma who can't find his place even here. Not wanting to keep up the conversation, Wednesday hastily leaves the ward. But on her way back to campus, hears some movement on the roof and looks up to see a stone gargoyle flying at her from above. Xavier, who is close by, saves the girl from sudden death. Waking up in the ward, Wednesday sees Xavier in front of her. He tells the girl that he has now paid his debt to her for saving his life. As a child, they played hide and seek at his godmother's funeral, and the boy got the idea of hiding in a coffin, which was immediately sent to the crematorium. Xavier would then have been roasted alive if Wednesday hadn't heard his screams. This story causes the fan of torture and horror to smile for the first time since the beginning of her stay at Nevermore. As she is typing new pages of her novel, Wednesday notices strange movement on her bed. Pulling back the cover, she sees her parents' spy, Thing. Threatening it with imprisonment in a drawer of her desk, Wednesday forces Thing to take her side, swear loyalty to the girl, and assist in her escape from Nevermore. By court order, Wednesday is required to visit a psychologist. The academy principal personally takes her to Jericho to see Dr. Valerie Kinbot and prevent the girl from escaping. However, she still manages to do just that through the bathroom window. Once free, Wednesday arrives at the cafe, where she strikes a deal with Tyler. She fixes his rebellious coffee machine, and the guy promises to take the girl to the nearest train station at the end of the day. However, the planned escape fails. While waiting for Tyler, Wednesday draws attention to herself by picking a fight with guys in pilgrim suits. The principal takes Adams away, and the sheriff immediately takes note of the girl because of her father Gomez, whom he considers guilty of murder. That evening, the sound of Wednesday's impeccable cello playing spreads through the territory of Nevermore. At the same time, local outcast Rowan tears a page from a book with a mysterious drawing on it. Tyler finds Gomez Adams' criminal record in his father's papers, and the sheriff tries to piece together the murders around Nevermore. At the sound of the cello, Enid appears on the balcony, and the first frank conversation takes place between the roommates. Enid tells her that she still cannot turn into a werewolf properly, but is only able to unleash her claws. Because of this, she may never find a mate and spend the rest of her life alone. Wednesday shares the tragic backstory of her scorpion Nero, who was run over by a bicycle in front of her eyes as a child. She has vowed never to cry again since. At the Harvest Festival weekend, Wednesday plans to escape again with the help of Tyler, who gives her the Gomez Adams case file he obtained from the archives before his departure. However, the escape again is thwarted by a group of pilgrims from the cafe, who are eager for revenge. In an attempt to get lost in the crowd, Wednesday runs into Rowan and has a vision of his death. Intending to warn the boy, she rushes into the woods after him, but finds herself in danger. After nailing her to a tree with telekinesis, Rowan plans to kill her because of his mother's prophecy that Wednesday will destroy Nevermore. She is saved from death by a monster who appears and kills Rowan in front of her. After searching through the woods with his dogs, the sheriff fails to find any trace of the murder and Rowan's body, and Adam's testimony casts doubt on him. On top of that, while they're talking about the monster, an unharmed Rowan appears in the doorway of Nevermore headmistress's office. After another session with Dr. Kimbot, Wednesday meets Tyler. It turns out he too is seeing a court-ordered therapist. Tyler admits to the girl that he believes in the monster story, unlike his father. Upon returning to Nevermore, Wednesday learns from the principal that Rowan has been expelled and is leaving on the first available train, while Larissa Weems orders her to take an extracurricular class before the end of the day. So as not to cause any more trouble, Wednesday sends Thing to supervise Rowan's departure and goes to pick a class while trying to find out from the students about the deceased. That's how Wednesday meets Eugene, the president of the beekeeping club, and stays for his class. But that's when Thing shows up and signals that Rowan's going to depart soon. After catching him at the car, Wednesday realizes that he has no intention of talking to her. Rowan asks her to leave him alone. Thing follows him to the train station, where the inexplicable happens. Rowan enters the bathroom stall, and another man exits, who after walking some distance, transforms himself into Headmistress Weems. Sheriff Galpin continues to investigate the case, and goes into the woods with his dog to look for clues. Wednesday also returns to the crime scene at the same time as the sheriff. Tyler saves her from a confrontation with Donovan. Surveying the area, the girl finds Rowan's glasses, the touch of which triggers a vision. Upon returning to Nevermore, Wednesday goes straight to the library to find the book from the vision. Miss Thornhill catches her there and offers to help. The girl asks her about the book with the mark and learns that it is a symbol of the old Belladonna School Society. Marilyn sees that Wednesday feels left out and tries to make contact with her. So she admits that she arrived a year and a half ago and feels like an outsider too. After discovering that Rowan was Xavier's roommate, Wednesday and Thing sneak into his room in search of the book. But she only finds her portrait in the artist's album, a strange masquerade mask hidden in the floor, and accidentally witnesses a conversation between Xavier and Bianca, who turns the boy against her. Upon her return to her room, Wednesday finds Enid in a hysterical state. The day before the canoe race, she has lost one team member, and now she has nobody to compete with. Wanting to humiliate Bianca after what she heard from her, the girl decides to enter the race. Principal Weems welcomes participants to the Edgar Allan Poe Cup. Teams must swim to Crow Island, pick up the flag at Crackstone's crypt, and return back. And there are no rules, so all teams can play unfairly. Merman helps Bianca's team in the competition, but the forward-thinking Wednesday has prepared a weapon against them, a fishing net. Having successfully reached the island, the girl goes to the crypt for the flag. the touch of which triggers a new vision.
You were the key.
On the way back, two teams compete for victory: the Golden Bugs, led by Bianca, and Enid's Black Cats. After piercing their opponent's boat, the Black Cats arrive at the finish line and take the trophy. Hiding from the triumphant celebration of the victors, Wednesday accidentally finds the book from her vision in the hands of a statue of Edgar Allan Poe. After easily solving the riddle on the spread, the girl obtains the key to the entrance to the Belladonna Secret Society dungeon and finds the book, from which Rowan has torn a page with the drawing. Barely having picked up the loot, Wednesday immediately finds herself trapped by members of Belladonna's elite society. Beneath the masks and hoods, however, are the already familiar students of Nevermore, led by Bianca. After examining the book in her room, Wednesday sees the second part of the drawing, which depicts a pilgrim. Another annual tradition at Nevermore Academy is to send students to the town of Jericho to volunteer for the Unity Day, and Wednesday, at the principal's insistence, will be playing the cello with the high school orchestra there. Upon her arriving in Jericho, the girl runs into Xavier, who she bombards with her questions about his former neighbor, Rowan. The boy still doesn't believe the story about the monster and the murder. Wednesday shows Xavier a book with the drawing, and then he tells her that the pilgrim depicted on it is Joseph Crackstone, the founder of the town of Jericho. After receiving an important clue, Wednesday sets out to volunteer in the Pilgrim World, a makeshift village of early settlers, where Eugene from the beekeeping club also happens to be. The girl is interested in the meeting house, which holds a collection of artifacts related to Joseph Crackstone. But volunteers aren't allowed in there because the exhibit is under renovation. The only thing left to do is hand out fudge in traditional costumes. Eugene, instead of handing out fudge to the customers, eats the whole tray. He is caught doing this by a trio of hooligan pilgrims. Unable to keep his food down, Eugene spews it on one of them. The boys are about to put him in shackles when Wednesday shows up, easily deals with the enemies and frees the guy. Eugene, who has been touched, confesses in response that he has no friends and no one has ever stood up for him. Wednesday takes her humming friend with her to break into the meeting house and examine Crackstone's artifacts. Once inside, she sees a picture of a girl from her visions with the book in her hands. This book, Wednesday finds in the same house under one of the display cases, but it turns out to be a fake with blank pages. The unsuccessful investigation is interrupted by Miss Orlean, who informs Wednesday that the original was stolen a month ago. Xavier is sent to volunteer at the cafe, where Wednesday arrives to talk to Tyler. The boy warns her not to get involved with the sheriff's son, but Adams doesn't listen to him. From Tyler, Wednesday finds out where the real meeting house of the first settlers was, and refuses his offer to go there together. Once there, Adams waits for a vision to come to her, and that's exactly what happens. Wednesday is transported back 400 years to the time of Joseph Crackstone, who is about to execute her ancestor, Goody Adams, recognized by the pilgrims as a witch. The girl, along with the other outcasts, is locked in a barn and set on fire. Among the outcasts, Goody sees her mother shackled to the floor. The tormented woman is ready to accept death and tells her daughter to save herself and avenge them. Upon awakening, Wednesday hears a noise outside the gate. Looking into the distance, she suddenly sees a monstrous eye right in front of her. The girl rushes after the monster and sees its footprints turn into human ones. As she examines them, Xavier suddenly appears behind her. Wednesday wants to show him her discovery, but the footprints have already been washed away by the pouring rain. Volunteers from Nevermore and Jericho residents gather for the grand opening of the Joseph Crackstone fountain. Wednesday Adams, with her cello, takes her place at the orchestra. As the performance begins, Thing sets fire to the powder track leading to the pilgrim statue, and an explosion occurs at the base of the monument. Everyone except for Wednesday runs away. The same day, the monster attacks a new victim, a homeless old man who stole a camera from an antique shop, and Sheriff Galpin gets his first clue: photographs of the monster. Taking Thing as her partner, Wednesday sneaks into the morgue to examine the victim's body and notices that the old man is missing a left foot. Her investigation is interrupted by the sheriff and the doctor, who shows Galpin the man's severed foot preserved in a jar. Adams hangs the morgue's records of the victims in her room, a sight Enid is not happy about. But Wednesday, nevertheless, tells her passionately about her discovery that the killer collects body parts from his victims by cutting them off with a surgical knife. At Nevermore, a ball is coming up and the students discuss it in Miss Thornhill's class. where Wednesday is paired with Xavier. She notices deep cuts on his neck and decides to follow him after class. This is how Adams finds out about the boy's secret hideout, which he constantly visits. Once inside, she discovers portraits of the monster and, having snatched some drawings, is about to leave when Xavier suddenly turns up again nearby. The guy thinks that Wednesday has come to ask him to the ball. In order to get to know the prime suspect in the serial killings better, she actually does invite him. On hearing the news, Enid squeals with delight, immediately suggesting that her friend buy a new dress and take her on a shopping trip. But that's the last thing Wednesday would like to do. She prefers to go to Sheriff Galpin with Thing, and on her way, sees a black dress in a store window that charms her. Dr. Kinbot catches her looking at it. At the sheriff's office, Wednesday tells the sheriff that she has a suspect and shows him the drawing of the monster that strikingly matches the photo in the case file. Adams offers her cooperation, to which Galpin agrees if she provides evidence. On her way out of the police station, Wednesday meets Tyler, who has already heard about Saturday night's ball. Adams tells him that she invited Xavier, which makes the boy visibly upset. After telling the girl how much he likes her, he hears back the following.
Just dealing with a lot right now. I need to prioritize.
Wednesday takes her detective board to Eugene the beekeeper, who recognizes the familiar place in one of the drawings and leads his friend to a cave in the woods. Once inside, Wednesday realizes it's the monster's lair and finds evidence there. Its claw. Now all that remains is to get the suspect's DNA, for which Adams returns to Xavier's hideout and finds his dried blood there, but has no time to get away unnoticed. Caught off guard, Wednesday frankly voices her suspicions about Xavier being a monster, to which the boy replies that he sees the creature in his dreams. And as he was painting the last picture, claws suddenly appeared and wounded him. Realizing that the invitation to the ball was not sincere, Xavier forces Wednesday to leave. Adams brings the obtained evidence to Galpin for examination, and instead of going to the ball, she proposes to Eugene to set watch at the cave together. Thing, however, has other plans for its owner and slips Tyler an invitation on her behalf. While the other students are getting ready for the ball, an unsuspecting Wednesday is about to set the watch, and when she hears a knock on the door, to her surprise, she sees Tyler on the doorstep. Thing has not only arranged the invitation, but has stolen a dress for her, in which the girl decides to go to the ball after all, canceling the trip to the cave she had planned with Eugene. When Wednesday appears on the dance floor, she captures everyone's attention around her, including Bianca and Xavier, who came together. Watching Wednesday and Tyler, Xavier becomes furious with jealousy. The final dance at the ball, meanwhile, turns into a bloody red spectacle put on by the Jericho mayor's son and his friends. At this point, Wednesday receives a vision that Eugene is in danger, which she informs Miss Thornhill about when she appears beside her. Having rushed into the woods to help her friend, Wednesday still does not have time to save him from the monster's clutches. It's parents' weekend at Nevermore Academy. Wednesday meets her parents and younger brother, immediately voicing her complaint that they left Thing spying on her. Enid meets her family too, just like all the other students. The Adams family is in the principal's office. Morticia and Larissa shower each other with sarcastic compliments, reminiscing about their old school days watching photos in a yearbook. Once they have finished exchanging pleasantries, they move on to a discussion of Wednesday's problematic behavior, for which Weems offers the Adams family group therapy with Dr. Kinbot. Gomez Adams, who shows up in town, incurs the anger of Sheriff Galpin, who considers him guilty of a crime committed 30 years ago, a crime Wednesday herself talks about during a therapy session, showing a photograph of Garrett Gates from the criminal case file and demanding an explanation from her parents. The session ends right there. Running after her daughter, Morticia shouts after her that her father is not to blame. Wednesday visits Eugene in the hospital and brings him honey which she collected from the hives herself. The boy has survived the monster's attack, but lies in a coma. Meanwhile, another body is dumped on Sheriff Galpin. It's not a monster victim, but a morgue pathologist who blew his brains out and left a suicide note in which he pleaded guilty to withholding the truth about the Garrett Gates case. With fresh evidence, Donovan Galpin goes straight to Nevermore, and after reading Gomez Adams the murder charge and his rights, leads the man away in handcuffs. Wednesday comes to visit her father in prison and asks him to tell the truth. Gomez Adams tells his daughter that Garrett Gates was madly in love with her mother and then became literally obsessed with her. Reporting to the police did nothing to stop the harassment, as Garrett's family was the oldest and richest in Jericho. Mad with unrequited love, he broke into the school prom and tried to kill Gomez with a saber, which in the heat of the fight, ended up in the hands of Wednesday's father. In defense of his life, he stabbed Gates with it. Wednesday decides that her father is telling the truth, but some small details indicate that there is still a catch to his story. Convinced of her father's innocence, Adams shows up at the sheriff's. She believes that the investigation into the case is deliberately set up to distract her and the sheriff from pursuing the forest monster. To which Galpin informs her of the negative DNA test on her evidence and threatens to test the black gum taped to the morgue camera for DNA. From the sheriff, Wednesday also learns that Garrett's entire family is dead. His mother hanged herself in the yard, his father drank himself to death, and his younger sister, who became an orphan, has gone abroad and drowned. Enid spends time at the picnic with her parents. Her mother, disappointed that her daughter still has not turned into a werewolf, slips her a brochure for summer camps on turning into a werewolf. Frustrated by her mother's insistent pressure, Enid leaves in tears. Wednesday goes fishing with her brother, throwing a couple of grenades into the lake. She promises to prove her father's innocence, and first goes to talk to her mother, whom she finds at the secret Belladonna Club. Morticia tells her daughter that Goody founded the club and killed Joseph Crackstone in retaliation for oppressing outcasts. After hearing this, Wednesday asks the big question: who really killed Garrett Gates? At this point, Morticia confesses that she did it, and Gomez took the blame. Ignoring her mother's tears, Wednesday continues to ask questions.
You said Garrett was foaming at the mouth. His eyes didn't look human.
The mother and daughter realize that Garrett was poisoned by Belladonna and was already dying before Morticia stabbed him with her saber. Having dug up the body in the cemetery, they are convinced of their theory by the blue hue of the corpse's skin. A sheriff's deputy who shows up on the scene arrests them for desecrating a grave. In a jail cell, Wednesday has a vision of how it all really happened. The next morning, the freed Morticia and Wednesday show up at the office of Jericho's mayor, who was sheriff at the time and was investigating the case. They tell him that they know the whole truth. Gomez Adams walks free after receiving an apology from the sheriff. Saying goodbye to Wednesday before she leaves Nevermore, Morticia gives her daughter the scrapbook she borrowed from Larissa Weems' office. After opening it, Wednesday goes straight to the principal's office. The photos in the album prove that she is a metamorph and has taken the form of Rowan to cover up his murder. They don't have time to finish their argument though, turning their attention to the shouting from the street. They see a burning sign on the lawn. Fire will rain. Wednesday uses the obsidian locket to contact Goody, however the session fails. Enid shows up at the door instead, and someone slips a note under their dorm door. It says that the answers can be found in Crackstone's crypt. The friends go there together. Instead of answers to her questions, a surprise awaits Wednesday there. Cake and happy birthday greetings. Paying little attention to the company's friendly antics, Adams looks at the Latin inscription on the crypt, the same one that was written on Nevermore's lawn. Upon touching the stone, Wednesday has another vision. She is standing in front of the house gates with Goody, who tells her that she can find a clue to stopping Craigstone there, and warns her that she will be alone soon. In the morning, Enid gives her friend a gift, a black knit snood that she made herself. Moreover, Enid knitted one for herself, only in pink, so that the girls could wear matching clothes. Unimpressed by the sincere display of affection, Wednesday refuses to wear the gift and heads for the sign on the lawn to investigate further. There, she is spotted by Xavier, with whom, after a quarrel before the ball, Wednesday has not spoken even though he came to the party in the crypt, and the girl coldly rejects his attempts at reconciliation. Wednesday continues to visit Eugene at Jericho Hospital and once again encounters Dr. Kimbot in the ward, who brings a beautiful bouquet of roses. Avoiding seeing the doctor outside of therapy sessions, Wednesday hurries away and heads to Tyler's cafe, where he joins her at a table with a gift, a cup of cappuccino with a congratulatory drawing on it. But with him too, Wednesday behaves just as distant and doesn't respond to the sweet talk about her birthday, the presents, and the surprise her friends have prepared for her in the crypt.
Come on, don't you like a day it's all about you?
Every day is all about me.
Tyler tries to ask Wednesday on a date, to which she shows him a drawing of a gate from her vision and asks bluntly, does the guy know what place this is? After getting a negative answer, Adams takes the piece of paper back and lets him know with a glance that the conversation is over. So Tyler leaves the table to make coffee for his father. Having overcome her pride and independence, Wednesday goes to Xavier's house to investigate the case. To her surprise, he shows her his drawings of the same gate he saw in a dream a few days ago and tells her that the gate is in the old Gates mansion. Their conversation is interrupted by Thing, who catches Wednesday's attention with a snap of its fingers, and then rips the cloak off the closed canvas, on which the girl sees a portrait of herself with a cello. Xavier tries to explain himself. He painted this portrait after the ball, as he has not been able to get Wednesday out of his mind since. Having listened to his confession without saying a word, she leaves and goes to the gate of the old Gates mansion. She is not alone there. Jericho's mayor, Noble Walker, steps out the front door and locks it. After eavesdropping on his telephone conversation, in which he makes an appointment to see Sheriff Galpin in the outbuilding, Wednesday sneaks into the trunk of his car to go to the sheriff with him. Donovan waits for him at the site, but just as the mayor is crossing the road, he is struck by an unknown blue Cadillac without license plates. Asking the passersby to call an ambulance, the sheriff raises his head and sees Wednesday in front of him. From the center of the new local tragedy, the ubiquitous Adams goes to the office of Headmistress Weems, who informs her that she is putting the academy on lockdown and forbidding her to leave campus without permission. Now, Wednesday has to put the investigation that has come this far on hold indefinitely. Imprisoned in her room, she proceeds to write her novel when Miss Thornhill appears. Wednesday assumes that it was the principal who sent the woman to check on her, but in response to the suspicion, she sees simple human sympathy and Miss Thornhill's desire to take care of her, which she immediately, coldly, and sharply rejects. To get out and continue the investigation, the prudent Wednesday decides to take advantage of everyone who treats her well, and the first thing she does is call Tyler. Under the pretense of agreeing to a date, she asks the guy to pick her up at the gates of Nevermore at 8 p.m. Shortly before the appointed meeting time, Wednesday begins her shenanigans with Enid. Skillfully manipulating her friend's sincere feelings, she incites her to go off campus, ostensibly to hold a bachelorette party in honor of her birthday. She even agrees to wear the hated knitted snood, which she tried to leave in the cafe on purpose. Once in Tyler's car, she orders him to drive to the Gates mansion. In the meantime, Xavier, convinced that Wednesday is locked down in her room, searches for her to talk, but meets only Thing, from who he learns where she is gone. Wednesday herself and her deceived friends have already arrived at the entrance of Gates mansion. After accusing her of lying, Enid and Tyler join Adams, and the first thing they do is go to the garage. There, they find exactly what Wednesday needs, an unidentified blue Cadillac without license plates that hit Mayor Walker. Having found the trail, Wednesday takes her friends to the mansion and refuses Enid's offer to call the sheriff, which would send her back to Nevermore for imprisonment. In the living room, she finds an altar dedicated to the pilgrim Joseph Crackstone and orders Tyler to examine the first floor, while she and Enid go to the second. There, they find a room in which someone clearly lives. Clean sheets and personal belongings are inside. At that moment, Tyler screams from the first floor. The monster has appeared in the house. They see its ominous shadow on the stairs, jump into the kitchen elevator and hide, but the monster uncovers them and tries to break in, causing the rope to break and the friends to fly down. Having miraculously survived the fall, they end up in the garage, where Wednesday sees the missing body parts of all the monster's victims collected in jars. And hearing his footsteps upstairs, the friends rush out to escape. After slipping out of the monster's clutches at the last moment, Wednesday and Enid go looking for Tyler and find the boy on the porch of the mansion with a laceration on his chest. At the same time, to Wednesday's surprise, Xavier shows up at the mansion. After reaching Tyler's house, Adams asks Sheriff Galpin to return with her to the Gates mansion. However, the garage, previously full of evidence, turns out to be clean. Faced with Headmistress Weems on her return to the academy, Wednesday manages to avoid expulsion, despite the fact that she has put her friends in mortal danger. And when Adams arrives in her room, she sees Enid packing up to move to another bedroom and not live next to a real monster.
You will use anyone to get what you want, even if it means putting them in danger.
Enid leaves, leaving her friend all alone, just as Goody predicted. Sitting on the floor, Wednesday examines the box she took from the Gates mansion and discovers her photographs in it. Mayor Walker's funeral is taking place in Jericho. Wednesday stays away from everyone and carefully scrutinizes the faces of those present, trying to determine which of them is the murderer, when suddenly her attention is drawn to a figure in black, hiding in the woods. Wednesday rushes after the unknown man, but loses him out of sight. The stranger was simply waiting in ambush. He attacks Adams from behind, but she reacts with an instant attack with her sword hidden in the rod of her umbrella. The mysterious man deflects her blow with an electric shock, and Wednesday realizes that the man in front of her is her own uncle, Fester Adams. The niece brings her uncle to Eugene's barn, tells him about the investigation, and shows him a picture of the monster. Fester is familiar with the creatures and informs her that it is a hide, information about which can be found in Nathaniel Faulkner's diary. The book itself is kept in the Belladonna Library. As darkness falls, Wednesday goes to the library and encounters Xavier there. Again, she openly accuses him of being the monster since,
Every time the monsters attacked, you have been right there.
having heard Adam's speculations, Xavier gets disappointed and leaves. And immediately Uncle Fester emerges from hiding and shows his niece the secret safe containing Nathaniel Faulkner's diary. After studying it in his room, Wednesday learns who Hyde is.
Born of mutation, the hide lays dormant until unleashed by a traumatic event or unlocked through chemical inducement or hypnosis.
And if it is released by another human, a Hyde considers him its master. After discovering more details, Wednesday once again confronts Xavier, who no longer wants to talk to her and asks her to stay out of his life, which is exactly what Adams is most interested in. She and her uncle follow Xavier on a ridiculous motorcycle. It turns out that he has gone to a secret meeting with Dr. Kimbot. Now it all adds up in Wednesday's mind. Xavier is a Hyde, and Dr. Kimbot has unleashed it by hypnosis. Her theory is discovered by Tyler, who joins her at a cafe and takes the opportunity to insist on a date at the Craigstone Crypt in the evening. Wednesday agrees to go to the crypt, and she is in for a stunning surprise. Tyler's gesture has melted Wednesday's heart, but the moment for the couple's first kiss was ruined by Sheriff Galpin, who showed up looking for the criminal who stole the motorcycle. Upon her return, Wednesday finds the room turned upside down and Thing nailed to the wall. Terrified, she rushes to Uncle Fester, who tries in vain to revive Thing with an electric shock. Thing seems to be beyond recovery, as it suddenly shows sign of life. For the first time in years, tears well up in Wednesday's eyes again. The next day, in anticipation of the investigations unfolding, Adams shows up at the office of Valerie Kimbot, whose real name is Laurel Gates. Wednesday reveals what she has uncovered. She has hypnotized Hyde to avenge the deaths of her entire family, in whose old mansion Wednesday saw the exact same bouquet of flowers as the one Kimbot had brought to Eugene's room. Having made her point, Wednesday leaves, after which the doctor is killed by a Hyde. Upon hearing from the sheriff about Kimbot's death, Wednesday is determined to stop the string of murders and sets up an ambush at Xavier's hideout. Using his last painting and the personal belongings of the murdered people found in his possession as proof, she turns Xavier in to Sheriff Galpin. And on her return to her room, she sees that Enid has moved back in with her and offers to reconcile. To celebrate her double triumph, Wednesday goes to Tyler's cafe. Having worked up the courage, she finally kisses him, at which point, a vision comes to her. After coming to her senses, Wednesday immediately rushes off to set up another ambush. Soon, Tyler is tied up in Xavier's hideout, where Adams tortures him to awaken the Hyde. The classmates who refuse to take part turn to Headmistress Weems and call Sheriff Galpin. Once at the police station, Wednesday continues to insist on her theory. The sheriff does not press charges of kidnapping his son and allows Weems and Adams to return to Nevermore. On the way out, however, Tyler stops Wednesday to say,
"You have no idea what's coming."
At Nevermore, Principal Weems expels Wednesday, orders her to pack her things, and leave on the first train. Realizing that she is leaving the school on the brink of terrible danger, Wednesday makes an attempt to seek help from Xavier, who is now locked in prison because of her. Unwilling to listen to her explanations, the boy chases her away and asks her to leave Nevermore forever, lest the prophecy come true.
That can't happen if you're not here. That's how you save everyone, okay?
In the morning, Wednesday packs up her things and learns the good news from Enid. Eugene has recovered in the hospital, and Headmistress Weems allows her to stop by to say goodbye. Appearing in Eugene's room, Wednesday first apologizes for letting him go to the cave alone. Remembering what happened, the boy tells her that the arsonist had red boots. Only one person in Nevermore wears such boots, Miss Thornhill. She is carelessly cooking belladonna poison in her greenhouse when Wednesday suddenly appears behind her back and lays out her accusations. With one syringe hidden in her pocket, Laurel tries to play innocent when Tyler shows up in the greenhouse to confirm Wednesday's words. Only then does Laurel remove her mask and order Hyde to kill Adams. This time, however, he for some reason does not react to the order. Instead, the shapeshifter assumes his true form, and Miss Gates is faced with Larissa Weems, the principal. Realizing her failure and its consequences, Laurel pounces on her and injects her with poison. Larissa Weems dies on the spot, and Laurel knocks out Wednesday with a blow to the head. Thing observes this scene in a hiding spot and immediately rushes to Enid for help. Upon awakening, Wednesday realizes she is in Joseph Crackstone's crypt, where Laurel is preparing to perform the rite of pilgrim resurrection by arranging the collected body parts of her dead victims around the tomb. Laurel unseals the ancestor's tomb with Wednesday's blood and resurrects the vengeful spirit of Jericho's founder, who has returned to cleanse the world of outcasts. At first, he stabs Goody Adams' descendant, leaving her in the crypt to die. Goody herself, however, comes to the aid of Wednesday, and having possessed her obsidian pendant, heals the girl's wound. The students of Nevermore, who have already learned of the principal's murder and the impending attack, evacuate the academy. At this time, Enid, who is rushed to the crypt to save her friend, suddenly begins to turn into a wolf for the first time in her life and appears at the scene at the right moment. Wednesday is nearly killed by a Hyde-turned-Tyler. Wednesday catches up with Crackstone at Nevermore. She fights him with the saber her mother stabbed Garrett Gates with, but is unable to stand up to him alone. As Bianca suddenly comes to her aid, using a fortunate moment, Adams plunges a fragment of the saber into his black heart, thus sending him back to hell. Having dealt with Crackstone, Wednesday finds herself in the crosshairs of Laurel Gates. However, a swarm of bees is sent to the villain by Eugene, who appears just in time.
Hummers stick together, right?
After dealing with Laurel Gates, Wednesday returns to the woods for Enid, and having survived the whole ordeal, the friends embrace for the first time. Having finished her novel, Wednesday leaves Nevermore for the vacations and accepts a parting gift from Xavier, a telephone, with his number already saved on it. However, the first message comes from someone else. You probably already know the name of the show, and in the comments, please let us know. Did you realize who the Hyde was right away? And who do you think sent Wednesday the cryptic message? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next awesome retelling.